Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. The Harry Potter franchise is well known to everyone. Since its publication in 1997, the Harry Potter books have been a phenomenon. The franchise has grown into a massive movie franchise, theme park attractions, and of course, video games. We still get video games set in the Wizarding world to this day, but today, we're looking back at the Xbox version of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, as it's known in the US, or everywhere else, the Philosopher's Stone. This game is based on the first book and movie in the franchise. I recently played through it and I'd like to give you some of its history, tell you how I felt about it, and let you know how it went after release. But first, I want to thank my YouTube channel members, thank you for your support, and let's head on into this review.
Everyone was silent until...
Wicked.
Although based on the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was not the first game to use this title. Many people, including myself, will remember the 2001 PS1 game of the same name. Growing up, I loved this 3D platformer, even though I spent most of my time wandering the maze-like hallways of Hogwarts rather than interacting with the story. Funny enough, typically we think of games like this being ported to next-generation consoles since it was released after the Xbox launch. However, the Xbox saw an adaptation of Chamber of Secrets before the release of this game. Since this is my first coverage of a Harry Potter game, I'm doing this out of release order because I wanted to play the games in plot order. And according to Harry Potter fan site HPANA, there were rumors that the first Harry Potter story would be coming to the 6th generation. And I love the quote from this website that says, "I personally find it hard to believe, but that's why they call it a rumor." And then a month after this article, the game was announced in July of 2003, utilizing the same engine as Chamber of Secrets. It would be a significant improvement graphically compared to the PS1 version, and would have notable upgrades like fewer loading times than Chamber of Secrets had. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was released on December 12th, 2003 for most major consoles at the time.
Dad!
So, you, like hundreds before you, have discovered the delights of the Mirror of Erised.
In this game, you follow the titular Harry Potter, a wizard orphan whose parents are murdered by the evil Lord Voldemort. He ends up in Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and meets friends Ron and Hermione along the way. The game starts at the beginning of this adventure with Harry getting his wand at Ollivanders, and it's from this point the plot is deconstructed to create more of a game-like structure. So in the books and movies, Harry, when he gets his wand, he goes on to learn spells in class. But instead here, young 11-year-old Harry has to embark in dangerous dungeons to acquire these spells, setting the plot devices for the rest of the game. The plot follows the story of the book and movie, but is split into multiple dungeons that break up the plot. The story of kids hanging out in Hogwarts solving a mystery wasn't enough for the game, and they wanted to bring a magical RPG feeling to the experience. I only point it out because it's a little odd, but in no way does it stop the plot from being decent. It's just a funny way to set up gameplay around the story of the book. Otherwise, this plot is solid and only has a few minor changes. One of those is that Harry takes care of everything rather than through the power of friendship. Like the giant chess scene that comes at the end of the movie, that's Ron's big moment to shine, now has Ron knocked out and you take care of it all yourself. It's funny, but you'll have some fun here if you like the Wizarding World plot. It's familiar and doesn't do much new. It's an interactive way to display the book that I always really enjoyed. It isn't pitch perfect, but it carries the game along in a well-paced manner. When you pick up the controller and start playing this game, you'll notice that it plays similarly to The Legend of Zelda. The Hogwarts castle is your overworld, while the spell challenges in Hagrid's garden are the dungeons that connect in the overworld. While exploring the overworld, you'll control Harry as he moves from room to room. Compared to other Harry Potter games, this game takes a more straightforward approach to the castle layout. It's easy to get around with reasonably central areas and rooms to explore. However, I prefer a more maze-like approach, but for a children's game, it's best to keep it simple, especially when there's no map to look at. Instead, you rely on following your classmates to the next objective. This makes navigation feel more natural than just a giant arrow on your HUD or a golden trail. However, it only sometimes works well. The kids you follow move during cutscenes. The game avoids loading screens by having slow opening door animations, but characters will continue to move during this. So sometimes you'll finish closing a door and find that they're already around the corner, racing to the exit, or you might have already lost them. During your adventure, you will spend a lot of time exploring dungeons. These will allow you to collect potion ingredients and learn new spells to help you access new areas in the game world. One of the game's Zelda-like features is that you won't need to jump to navigate platforms. Harry will automatically grab on the ledges when he reaches them and hop over them. However, this system can sometimes be glitchy, and Harry occasionally sinks slightly below ledges before grabbing on. This can mess up the game's hit detection and cause you to fall all the way back down to the bottom of an area. Climbing is also a significant part of the game, and you'll encounter areas where you need to climb higher and higher within a room. So falling all the way down to the bottom can be detrimental. Unfortunately, the game isn't without other glitches. The camera is often problematic and gets caught on objects, sometimes staying stuck to the point where you either have to reset or die to fix it. These moments can make the game feel tedious to play. I found some fun elements in the game though, especially with the dungeon puzzles. Although there is a lot of block pushing, it was still entertaining and took a solid amount of time to get through. I enjoyed the puzzles that required me to think creatively with the spells to solve them. The game provides you with various spells to choose from, such as fire and cutting spells, which fit perfectly into the game's world. You must use these spells to take out creatures or reach new areas. Although you can only assign 3 spells to the quick menu at a time, it's manageable to work with, so swapping between them is never a hassle. However, I found the aiming system a little rigid, often pointing at the wrong targets. It's okay if you only need to aim at one thing, but if there are multiple targets on the screen, it can get messy. This made boss battles pretty challenging, especially when there were 3 targets to hit at once, and it wasn't easy to aim the spells precisely. I do like how the game rewards exploration. There is a vast selection of collectible wizard cards that you can find everywhere in chests. These cards increase your health and provide fun lore details to read. This game may target kids, but it's not easy, and getting the health boost from collecting cards is worth the effort. It's a nice incentive to check every nook and cranny. Additionally, you can collect jelly beans that are scattered throughout the game, and you can use those to buy more cards. In this game, you can fly on brooms as well by passing through different rings. Even the Quidditch games follow this pattern, which is okay and keeps the game's pace varied. There are plenty of exciting moments, especially when you get towards the end of the game. For instance, the chess game where you have to plan certain moves to get around every piece is awesome. And it's such moments like this that keep the gameplay fun and engaging enough to complete the game fully. However, some aspects of the gameplay are just a little too irritating, and it makes the game as a whole just feel average at best.
What?
Wandering around at midnight, ickle thirsty? Tut, tut, tut. Naughty, naughty. You'll get caughty. What's that you got there, Potter?
Peas, please.
Let me see it.
Give it here.
Sorcerer's Stone has a look that fits children's games of the era. Many character designs are good, and they match the look described in the books. The game does not attempt to replicate the actors from the movies. They all kinda look like Sims characters, which is typical of many EA games of this time. The look could be better, but it does a good job with characters. The real focus of any game set in the wizarding world is to bring the universe to life through its art style, and it does a pretty good job of that here. The interiors of Hogwarts have some solid detail work, especially in the grand staircase and looking at all of the paintings on the walls. The dungeons have a dark, eerie look, and the students littering the hallways give the castle a lively mood. Some of the repeated classrooms are a bit disappointing, but for the most part, these areas look great. Even the dungeon areas have a unique flair that make them fun to explore, like the fire dungeon that has you going into multi-leveled stone-built rooms to move fire-breathing statues. There is a specific creativity to the look of this game. However, once you get outdoors, you can tell that this is where creativity could have been improved. These areas are plain green fields with some walls and nothing else. It needed more people and detail, and it made going to herbology class or Hagrid's garden a tedious, long, and boring walk with nothing to look at. These areas just needed more detail, and the lack of it makes it feel lazy compared to the rest of the game. Surprisingly, you spend a lot of time outdoors, so it becomes apparent quickly. Other than that though, it's a reasonably decent looking game with interesting looking interiors. The music in this game does not use songs directly from the movies as I would have expected. Instead, it features new compositions created by the talented Jeremy Soule. While the tracks may not be his best work, they do have a whimsical quality that complements the game's atmosphere. The decision to create an original score adds to the uniqueness of the game's interpretation of the original novels. As for the voice acting, the movie's main actors are not in this game. Despite this, the voice acting is done well for the most part. Teachers like Snape sound great, and Ron and Hermione stand out as some of the best voice work from the younger cast. However, Harry's voice actor was awful.
Dear Harry, I heard Professor Snape asked you to find some moondew for your potions class. I can't believe you would ask such a thing. Moondew only comes out at night, and it's found deeper into the Forbidden Forest than is safe for a first year to go. Meet me in my garden tonight, and I'll take you to where it grows. That way you'll be safe. Hagrid.
He struggles to deliver lines, and the audio designers have made it so that he has to say every flavor of jelly bean that he picks up. And this becomes a problem when collecting many of them in a row, and he just repeats himself over and over, and it becomes an awful jumbled mess.
Liver?
That said, the game's world is brought to life with solid wand sound effects and creature noises. These sound effects work is excellent, and along with the music, it does help craft a good world. It's just unfortunate that Harry is the star, and a lot of the voice work there is rough.
Coffee. Earwax flavor?
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was an opportunity to update a last-gen title and bring it to life for the next generation of consoles. With the continued hype of the movies and subsequent book releases, the developers could have made this game a runaway hit with some time. Unfortunately, it falls short of expectations and is a mess. Harry's voice acting is rough and makes up most of the dialogue that you will hear. The glitchy camera and jumps make some areas a chore, and some game world elements just needed more detail. The gameplay is at least a fun enough version of a 3D Zelda title to keep it entertaining from start to finish, with some solid puzzles and spell variety. Exploring a simplified version of Hogwarts with good detail is enjoyable as well. It would work well for children, but even so, it wouldn't be the best game on the console for them. This one is decent, but it's a bit too messy to recommend at all. I hope the other Harry Potter games improve from here. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was released in 2003 and received mixed reviews from critics. According to Metacritic, it has a score of 59 out of 100, which is considered mixed on their website. Older reviews might suggest the game was easy for children to understand, but suffered from numerous bugs and a lack of polish that held it back. In the January 2004 edition of Official Xbox Magazine, the game scored a 6.2 out of 10. The magazine noted that the game was bogged down by cutscenes that slowed down the experience. Despite these criticisms, user aggregate websites such as Backlogged show that many people have fond memories of this game. It currently holds an average of 3.1 out of 5 with 500 ratings. This game seems to have a lot of nostalgia tied to it. However, the game is now priced at around $45 on the Xbox, which is surprising considering it was priced at $60 last year, and those values come from pricecharting.com. And let me say, this game is not worth that amount, and you should only purchase this if you find it at a heavily discounted price. But that wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Also leave a comment below if you're interested in this game. If you love or hate it, I would love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members, campers, and camp counselors. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel. But I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.